The harsh sound of an alarm clock jolted Nicole back to reality in her bedroom as sunlight streamed through the windows. Opening her eyes, she gazed at her sleeping husband Zion's face beside her. Zion was scheduled to leave for an extended business trip next week. Nicole took a deep breath, preparing herself mentally for the new day ahead. Slipping out of bed, Nicole put on her slippers and stepped into the hallway. She paused momentarily, her eyes drawn to her daughter Aubrey's bedroom door. That room, empty for 3 months now, stared back at her unchanged. Despite the ache in her heart, Nicole headed to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. As coffee's aroma filled the house, Nicole took eggs from the refrigerator and cracked them into the pan. She smiled upon hearing Zion's footsteps coming down the stairs. "Good morning, honey," Zion said softly. "Good morning," Nicole replied, turning around. "What's your schedule today?" "I have a final meeting about the Chicago business trip this afternoon. Should be home in time for dinner." They shared peaceful conversation over breakfast. However, the family photo on the table silently spoke of Aubrey's absence. After breakfast, Nicole headed to the elementary school where she worked. She greeted her third-grade students with a warm smile. "Good morning, everyone," Nicole called out cheerfully. "Good morning, Mrs. Salinger," the children responded energetically. As class began, Nicole wrote mathematical equations on the blackboard, carefully explaining each step. Watching her students' serious expressions, she reaffirmed her sense of purpose as a teacher. During break time, she provided individual guidance to a student struggling with homework. "This is how you think about it," Nicole explained gently. "Oh, I get it now. Thank you, teacher," the girl's eyes sparkled. After school, Nicole exchanged brief conversation with her colleagues before heading home. When she arrived, Zion was already there and had started preparing dinner. "I'm home," Nicole called out, and Zion turned around with a smile. "Welcome back. I'm making lasagna tonight." They worked together to finish preparing dinner and sat down at the table. Over wine, Zion began explaining the details of his trip. "It'll probably take about 3 weeks. I'll try to come back as soon as I can." Nicole nodded silently. Then, the unavoidable topic arose. "About Aubrey." Nicole hesitantly began. "Is there any new information?" Zion sighed deeply. "No word from the police. But we can't give up." Nicole gripped Zion's hand, tears welling in her eyes. "We'll find her, I know we will." Zion gently embraced Nicole, whispering, "That's right. Let's keep trying together." The next day, Zion began preparing for his trip. As he packed clothes into his suitcase, he occasionally glanced at Nicole. She helped silently, suppressing her loneliness. In the car heading to the airport, Zion took Nicole's hand again. "Call me right away if anything happens." Nicole nodded, saying, "Take care." After seeing him off, Nicole returned home and sighed deeply in the silent house. As night fell, she sat alone on the living room sofa, staring at the television. Suddenly, she heard a strange noise from upstairs. Nicole tensed, looking up at the ceiling. Just then, the doorbell rang. Nicole nervously opened the door to find her mother-in-law Veronica standing there. "Good evening, Nicole," Veronica's voice was cold. Veronica, what brings you here so late? Nicole asked uncertainly. Veronica silently entered the living room and sat on the sofa. Since Zion's gone on his trip, I came to check on you. Though uncomfortable, Nicole prepared tea. After taking a sip, Veronica began in a stern tone. Nicole, please don't ever go into the attic. Understand? Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. What? Why? Don't ask why. Just promise me. Veronica's eyes pierced Nicole sharply. Though confused, Nicole nodded. Veronica stood up, apparently satisfied, saying, well, I'll be going now, before leaving. After the door closed, Nicole looked up at the ceiling again. The attic door seemed to look down at her, as if concealing a secret. In Nicole's heart, anxiety and curiosity began to mingle. When Nicole returned from school, her son Finn was playing games on the living room sofa. This was usually homework time. Nicole frowned as she called out to him. Finn, what about your homework? I finished it, Finn answered without looking away from the screen. Nicole sat beside her son and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. Did something happen? You seem different. Finn finally met Nicole's eyes. Anxiety showed in his gaze. Mom, about Aubrey. Finn's words trailed off. Nicole's heart jumped. About Aubrey? Did something happen? Finn took a deep breath before continuing. I was talking about Aubrey with friends at school today. And then. Nicole listened with bated breath. Someone said they saw Aubrey. But that's impossible, right? Nicole embraced her son. Finn, thank you for worrying about Aubrey. But it's better not to believe such rumors. The police are working hard to find her. Finn nodded, but anxiety remained in his expression. During dinner, Finn was quieter than usual. Though concerned about her son's behavior, Nicole avoided pressing him too hard. After finishing his meal, Finn said, I'm tired, and retreated to his room early. Late that night, Nicole woke to a noise. Looking at the clock, it was past 2 a.m. Stepping into the hallway, she saw Finn's bedroom door was open. Finn? Nicole called softly, and her son's voice came from the direction of the stairs. Mom. His voice held traces of fear. Nicole hurried down the stairs. In the dim living room, she saw Finn's small shadow. He was looking up at the ceiling, pointing with a trembling finger. What's wrong? Nicole placed her hand on her son's shoulder. Finn answered in a shaking voice. I hear Big Sister's voice, coming from above. Nicole caught her breath. Her mother-in-law Veronica's warning flashed through her mind, never go into the attic. However, seeing her son's anxious expression made Nicole's heart waver. Can you really hear it? Nicole asked gently. Finn nodded desperately. Yes, it's faint but. I think she's asking for help. Nicole took a deep breath and made her decision. All right. Mom will go check. Wait here, okay? Finn looked up at Nicole anxiously. I want to go too. No. Please wait here, Nicole said firmly. Nicole nervously placed her hand on the ladder to the attic. Her mother-in-law's warning echoed in her mind, never enter the attic. However, thinking of Aubrey, there was no time for hesitation. As she climbed the ladder one rung at a time, Nicole's heart was pounding. Her hands trembled, and cold sweat ran down her back. Reaching for the attic entrance after climbing the final rung, Nicole took a deep breath. "Aubrey?" Nicole called out softly. No response. Steeling herself, Nicole opened the attic door. A dim space stretched before her, with dusty air tickling her nose. Moonlight streaming through a small window cast eerie shadows of furniture and boxes. Nicole cautiously took a step forward. She shuddered at the creaking of the floorboards. Slowly exploring the attic while shining her flashlight, she found old furniture, cardboard boxes, and a dust-covered mirror, all appearing unused for years. Nicole's eyes fixed on a large trunk tucked in a corner of the room. Nervously approaching, she placed her hand on the trunk's lid. Taking a deep breath, she slowly opened it. Inside were old clothes and photo albums. However, what caught Nicole's eye was a familiar stuffed animal placed on top. Aubrey's favorite teddy bear. Nicole gasped. This teddy bear should have disappeared along with Aubrey. Why was it here? Searching the trunk further, she found Aubrey's diary and clothes that should have been recently purchased. Questions swirled in Nicole's mind. Were all these items placed here after Aubrey's disappearance? Suddenly, Finn's voice called from below. "Mom! Are you okay?" Nicole snapped back to reality and quickly closed the trunk. "I'm fine, I'll come down now." Leaving the attic, Nicole's heart was full of confusion and anxiety. Was Aubrey in this house? If so, why wouldn't she show herself? And what did her mother-in-law Veronica know? Coming down the ladder, she found an anxious-faced Finn waiting. Nicole embraced her son, saying, "There was nothing there. It must have been your imagination." However, Nicole herself knew best that these words were a lie. Various thoughts ran through her mind about what to do next. Should she contact her husband Zion? Consult the police? Or, should she first talk with her mother-in-law Veronica? Nicole sighed deeply as she led Finn back to his room. "It's late. Let's go to bed." Lying in bed, Nicole stared at the ceiling. The secret of the attic weighed heavily upon her. What action should she take tomorrow? Nicole spent a long night lost in thought. In the kitchen as morning sunlight streamed in, Nicole had firmed her resolve after a sleepless night of consideration. Sipping coffee, she recalled last night's events in the attic. Finding Aubrey's belongings, and her mother-in-law Veronica's strange warning. These couldn't be mere coincidence. Nicole picked up her mobile phone and held down Zion's name. However, she canceled the call just before it started ringing. There was no solid evidence yet. She might just worry Zion unnecessarily. Nicole sighed deeply. "Mom, good morning," Finn's voice brought Nicole back to reality. "Good morning, Finn. Did you sleep well?" Finn shook his head. Not really." Nicole sat next to her son and gently put an arm around his shoulders. "Finn, Mom wants to investigate something about Aubrey. Will you help?" Finn's eyes lit up. "Yes. Nicole told Finn about what she had found in the attic last night. Then she explained her plan to ask around town today. But it's a secret. Don't tell anyone, not Grandma, not Dad, Nicole said with a serious expression. Finn nodded with a mature look. I understand, Mom. I'll help properly. After breakfast, Nicole and Finn headed into town. Their first stop was the home of Aubrey's best friend Lily. Her mother came to the door. About Aubrey? Yes, I'm really worried about her. But recently. She trailed off. Recently? Nicole prompted. Well, it might have been my imagination, but last week, late at night, I thought I saw someone who looked like Aubrey. Nicole's heart raced. Where did you see her? At the corner of Willow Street. But she disappeared right away. Next, they visited Aubrey's violin teacher. The teacher shook her head sadly. I'm sorry, but I have no information about Aubrey. Though I do miss hearing her play. As they went around town, Nicole heard strange rumors. Multiple people claimed to have seen an unknown girl at night. However, no one would definitively say it was Aubrey. In the afternoon, Nicole and Finn visited the library. Finn eagerly began researching old town records. Nicole was flipping through old local newspaper articles. Suddenly, Finn called out quietly. Mom, look at this. The photo he pointed to showed a young Veronica. However, the name was different. Eva Gunn. Nicole read aloud involuntarily. That's not Grandma's name, is it? Finn asked curiously. Nicole tilted her head. By this time, Veronica should have already been married to Zion's father. Why a different name? As they were leaving the library, Stephanie the librarian called out to Nicole. Nicole, were you researching Veronica? Stephanie's voice was low, as if wary of their surroundings. Yes, I was curious, Nicole maintained her composure. Stephanie continued hesitantly. There have been various rumors about her, especially about before she came to this town. Just then, the library door opened and another patron entered. Stephanie abruptly cut off, saying, some other time, before walking away. Returning home, Nicole found Veronica standing at the front door. Her expression was sterner than usual, as if she had something to say. Mother-in-law, what's wrong? Nicole asked, feigning calm. Nicole, we need to talk, Veronica's voice was cold. Once they entered the living room, Veronica suddenly changed the subject. Have you been up to the attic recently? Nicole momentarily stumbled over her words. No, I haven't gone up there, like you said. Veronica stared intently at Nicole. I see. That's good. Then she stood up, saying, I need to get something I forgot, and headed toward the attic ladder. Watching Veronica's back as she left, Nicole felt her heart rate increasing. What was Veronica hiding? And where was Aubrey? These questions grew ever larger in Nicole's mind. Late that night, after her family had fallen asleep, Nicole quietly headed to the attic. Concerned about Veronica's visit yesterday, she wanted to check for any new clues. Climbing the ladder carefully, guided by flashlight beam. Entering the attic, the dusty air tickled her nose. Nicole looked around and focused on the old trunk Veronica had approached. Opening the lid slowly, she found a worn photo album. Nicole caught her breath. The album cover read Eva Gunn's Memories. The name from the library. With trembling hands, she turned the pages, revealing photo after photo of a young Veronica. However, beside her was an unfamiliar man. Could this be Veronica's ex-husband? Nicole whispered to herself. Turning more pages, she discovered a letter tucked inside. Written in young Veronica's, no, Eva's handwriting on yellowed paper. Dear Tom. We may never meet again. But this is the only way to escape your violence. I'm starting a new life. Please don't try to find me. Goodbye, Eva. Finishing the letter, Nicole was overwhelmed with complex emotions. Veronica's past was gradually becoming clear. The next morning, Nicole saw Finn off to school. However, that afternoon, she received a call from the school. Mrs. Salinger, I'm sorry, but it seems Finn is absent from afternoon classes. Nicole exclaimed in surprise. What? But this morning. Rushing into town, Nicole searched frantically for Finn. She found him in front of an old movie theater. However, there was another person there, an unfamiliar man. Nicole hid and tried to listen to their conversation. About your sister. I think I might have seen someone like her, the man's voice carried over. Finn's voice followed. Really? Where did you see her? Nicole caught her breath. Finn had started his own investigation. While worried, she was impressed by her son's courage. That night, Nicole began researching Veronica's hometown on her computer. Searching the small town's name, she found a newspaper article from 30 years ago. Local businessman arrested for wife battery. Nicole's eyes widened at the headline. Reading on, the victim's name was Eva Gunn. And the perpetrator was Richard Gunn. The man from the album. With trembling hands, Nicole picked up her phone and called Stephanie at the library. Stephanie, I need to know about Veronica, no, Eva Gunn. On the other end of the line, Stephanie sighed. So you figured it out? Yes, Veronica's real name was Eva Gunn. Stephanie continued. 30 years ago, she came to this town to escape her abusive husband. She changed her name and started a new life. Nicole was speechless. Veronica's past suffering and her courage to start anew, everything was starting to make sense. But why would she do this to Aubrey? Nicole began, but Stephanie interrupted. That I don't know. But there must be a reason for Veronica's actions. After hanging up, Nicole stared out the window. In the darkness of night, she could see the small window of the attic. Was Aubrey up there? And what was Veronica trying to protect? Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Nicole checked the clock. It was past 10 p.m. Who could it be? Opening the door nervously, she found Veronica standing there. Her expression was more serious than Nicole had ever seen. Nicole, we need to talk, Veronica's voice trembled. It's time I told you everything. Nicole nodded silently and invited Veronica into the living room. It was going to be a long night. The moment for truth had finally come. Nicole stared at the clock, feeling anxiety spread through her chest. It was past 3 p.m., and Finn hadn't returned home. He should usually be back by 2:30. She had sent several messages to his mobile phone, but there were no replies. He must have stopped at a friend's house, she told herself while looking out the window. But there was no sign of Finn on the street. Around 3:30, Nicole couldn't wait any longer and left the house. First, she went to Mike's house, Finn's best friend. Mike's mother apologetically shook her head. "I'm sorry, Nicole. Finn hasn't been here." Next, she called the school. "Finn left after finishing his last class," was the answer, only increasing Nicole's anxiety. She ran around town, calling Finn's name. The park, library, his favorite ice cream shop. Her son was nowhere to be found. As the sun began to set, Nicole was debating whether to call the police. However, thinking about Veronica's secret and Aubrey's situation made her hesitate. "Nicole." Suddenly, a voice called from behind. Turning around, there stood Veronica. "Mother-in-law. Finn is." Nicole explained the situation tearfully. Veronica's expression darkened. "Let's go back home. There's something I need to tell you." Back at home, Veronica sat on the living room sofa. Her posture suggested someone carrying a heavy burden of many years. "Nicole, Veronica stumbled over her words. "My real name is Eva Gunn." Nicole caught her breath. "I know. But why?" Veronica, no, Eva, sighed deeply. 30 years ago, I ran away from my abusive husband. I changed my name and started a new life. Then I met Zion's father." Tears glistened in her eyes. "But the past doesn't disappear so easily. My ex-husband kept searching for me." Nicole asked in a trembling voice, "How does this relate to Aubrey and Finn?" Eva raised her face and looked straight into Nicole's eyes. "Aubrey discovered my secret. The threatening letters from my ex-husband." Nicole gasped. "So, Aubrey." No sooner had Nicole heard Veronica's confession than she jumped up from her chair. "Where is Aubrey?" Her voice trembled. Veronica heaved a deep sigh. "At my house. Let's go." The two hurried to Veronica's house. Nicole's hands shook as she drove, her knuckles white from gripping the steering wheel too tightly. Veronica sat silently in the passenger seat, occasionally glancing at Nicole. Arriving at Veronica's house, Nicole quickly jumped out of the car. "Hurry! Where's Aubrey?" Veronica slowly entered the house and stopped in front of a large bookshelf in the living room. "Nicole, are you ready?" Nicole could barely contain her irritation, crying out, "What are you talking about? Let me see my daughter." Veronica quietly reached for a book on the shelf and pulled it. Surprisingly, the entire bookshelf moved, revealing a hidden door. Nicole caught her breath. This mechanism. Veronica placed her hand on the door and slowly opened it. "Aubrey, it's all right. Mom's here." As the door opened, a small, dimly lit room appeared. There was an emaciated girl inside. "Aubrey!" Nicole cried out and rushed into the room. Aubrey, at first squinting at the light, raised her face when she heard Nicole's voice. "Mom." Her voice was thin and uncertain. Nicole held her daughter tightly. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Thank goodness, thank goodness. Aubrey also clung to Nicole, holding her tight. I'm sorry, Mom. I was scared. The two held each other without words, just crying. Their 3-month separation seemed to melt away in an instant. Veronica watched this scene from the doorway with a complex expression. Nicole, Aubrey. I'm so sorry. Tears glistened in her eyes as well. Finally pulling away from Aubrey, Nicole looked at Veronica. Anger and relief, along with complex emotions, mingled together. Why did you do this? Veronica knelt on the floor and took Aubrey's hand. It was to protect you. But I realize now that was wrong. Aubrey nodded slightly. Grandma, it's okay now, right? That scary person won't come anymore. Nicole looked at her daughter in surprise. Scary person. Veronica took a deep breath and said, I'll explain everything. But first, let's move Aubrey to a proper room. As the three moved to the living room, Nicole's head was full of questions. Along with the relief of finding Aubrey came new anxieties. And the whereabouts of Finn still weighed heavily on her heart. In the midst of the family's tension gathered in the living room, the front door slowly opened. I'm home. Finn's small voice echoed, and everyone's eyes turned to him at once. Nicole jumped up and hugged her son tightly. Finn! Where have you been? Do you know how worried everyone was? Finn seemed to shrink in his mother's arms, wearing an apologetic expression. I'm sorry, Mom. I was worried about Aubrey. Nicole gripped her son's shoulders and looked at him with serious eyes. What happened? Tell me everything. Finn took a deep breath and began explaining. I've been having dreams about Aubrey lately. In the dreams, Aubrey was crying, "Help me." Tears glistened in his eyes. So I thought I had to find Aubrey. He continued, after school, I went to the library. Stephanie helped me look through old town records. And then. Finn hesitated for a moment, then looked at Veronica. I found Grandma's old name. Eva Gunn. Veronica sighed and quietly spoke. You discovered my past. Finn nodded. Yes. Then I wanted to investigate more, so I went to the town where Grandma's old house was. Nicole caught her breath. All by yourself? Yes, Finn answered quietly. I took the bus. And there. I met Grandma's ex-husband, our real grandfather. The room fell silent. Veronica's face turned pale. Finn quickly added, but it's okay. I didn't tell him my name or our real relationship. I just said I was there doing research. He pulled a crumpled paper from his pocket. This is Grandpa's address. I thought we should give it to the police. Nicole embraced her son again, this time with a mixture of relief and pride. Finn, you were very brave. But do you know how dangerous that was? Finn buried his face in his mother's chest. I know. But it was for our family. I wanted to help Aubrey. I wanted to help Mom and Dad. Aubrey quietly approached Finn and took her brother's hand. Thank you, Finn. It's because you never gave up on me that I'm here now. The whole family surrounded Finn, expressing their gratitude for his courage and love. Veronica knelt before her grandson and apologized tearfully. "Finn, I'm so sorry. Because Grandma hid everything, you were put in such danger." Finn gently hugged Veronica. "It's okay, Grandma. We're family. Family helps each other." At that moment, everyone smiled through their tears. They all felt the family bond that had grown stronger through their ordeal. While moved by her son's growth and courage, Nicole realized the changes this experience had brought to their lives. This adventure, which began with fear and distrust, had ultimately taught them about love, understanding, and the importance of family bonds. From this day forward, the Salinger family vowed to build more open relationships without secrets. And they renewed their determination to overcome any difficulties that might arise by working together as a family. The next morning, the Salinger family headed to the local police station in a somber atmosphere. Nicole held Aubrey and Finn's hands, while Zion gently placed his hand on Veronica's shoulder. Upon entering the station, they were greeted by a veteran detective. "Please, have a seat," the detective said in a calm voice. "Veronica, no, Eva. Please tell us your story." Veronica took a deep breath and began telling her past in a trembling voice. The domestic violence from 30 years ago, her escape, and the beginning of her new life. Then the recent threats from her ex-husband. As the story progressed, the detective's expression grew more serious. "I understand," the detective said quietly. "We'll do everything we can. Issuing a protection order, increasing patrols, and if necessary, we can arrange for relocation to a safe place." Nicole leaned forward. "Detective, we won't run away. This town is our family's home. We want to start a new life here." The detective nodded. "I respect that courage. We'll support you with everything we have." Leaving the police station, the family held new determination in their hearts. Back home, Zion called a family meeting. "From now on, let's be honest and open with each other," Zion said quietly but firmly. "We're family. We'll overcome any difficulties together." Everyone nodded and joined hands. In that moment, they felt they had become a true family. As days passed, the townspeople's attitudes also began to change. Those who had initially shown uncertainty and distrust were moved by the Salinger family's sincerity and strength. Lily's mother, Aubrey's best friend's mother, stood up at a school PTA meeting. "We need to understand and support each other more. There's so much we can learn from the Salinger family's courageous actions." Stephanie at the library set up a special corner for domestic violence and child protection resources. "Knowledge can help," she said, smiling kindly at Nicole. The local church held a special prayer service for Veronica. The pastor spoke during his sermon, forgiveness, understanding, and new beginnings. That's the strength of our community. As months passed and autumn arrived, peaceful daily life returned to the Salinger family. One Sunday afternoon, the whole family was enjoying a picnic in the backyard. Aubrey and Finn were teaching Veronica how to play chess. "Grandma, this piece moves like this," Finn explained enthusiastically. Veronica laughed gently. "You two are so smart. Grandma can't keep up at all." Aubrey took Veronica's hand. "It's okay, Grandma. We'll teach you. We're family. At those words, tears glistened in Veronica's eyes. Thank you, both of you. Nicole and Zion watched the scene from a short distance. They really are wonderful children. Nicole rested her head on her husband's shoulder. Zion pulled his wife close and replied, "Yes, thanks to you." That night, after the children had gone to bed, Nicole went to her study. She sat down at her computer and took a deep breath before facing the screen. Chapter 1: Searching for Lost Bonds. Nicole quietly began typing. She had decided to write a book about their experiences over the past few months. Family bonds are sometimes tested by trials. But when those trials are overcome, the bonds become stronger. This is our family's story. A journey that began with fear and distrust, leading to the discovery of love, understanding, and true bonds. As she wrote, Nicole looked out the window. The full moon's light gently illuminated the garden. There, she felt new hope and the strengthened bonds of their family. She smiled and turned back to her keyboard, hoping this story would reach the hearts of others going through similar struggles.